Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening, I'm Opal Rose sitting in for Keishla Adley, and this is The Bahamas Tonight. Topping news, we have the latest on developments at the Wyndham Nassau Resort. Hotel union executives and resort officials are still in discussions, but we're told that both sides have come to some sort of an agreement. This comes after tempers flared in light of a voluntary package or early retirement offer. Yvonne Albury talked to both sides and the labor director.
Both parties have agreed to work together, the specifics of which I'll leave it to them to give you, but certainly we want to encourage them. Obviously, this is a situation where, again, social dialogue has prevailed.
That is how the Director of Labor, Harcourt Brown, described the outcome of a meeting with Robert Sands, Bahamas Vice President of External Affairs, and Nicole Martin, President of the Hotel Workers Union, representing hundreds of employees at the 550-room Wyndham Nassau Resort. The meeting, mediated by the Office of the Prime Minister, also included the Minister of Labor, the Honourable Shane Gibson. Earlier this week, the employees were told that the resort planned to close for 6 weeks due to low occupancy. But what rattled workers, some with more than 20 years of service, was the offer of early retirement and voluntary separation packages. Without going into details of the discussions, Ms. Martin had this message for employees.
Be not concerned, we are at the table again. We are a part of the discussions. Nothing will happen with them without our involvement, and certainly, as our history would dictate, we always do what is in the best interest of the workers and the company, because if the company is not doing well, then certainly it impacts us.
Sands also echoed his satisfaction, noting too that details of Thursday's agreement will first be given to employees in a joint meeting to be held as early as next week.
Part of that framework agreement is that we will jointly communicate to our members. And I think it would be important for them to hear from us first, rather than through the medium of any details. And we're not trying to avoid your questioning today, but it's very important that we respect the relationship both of our employees and our members, and we will advise them in a joint meeting as to the outcome.
Neither Martin or Sands said whether the offer of separation packages would still be included, but Sands said this.
This is a temporary closure, and therefore we don't want to convey to the public at large that there were any discussions per se on total closure, because the heads of agreement speaks to that particular point much later down the line.
And I am Yvonne Albury, ZNS News.
Now, both sides agreed that it was the Prime Minister's intervention that jump-started the negotiation process. They thanked him for putting the issue of job security at the forefront. Responding was Labor Minister Shane Gibson, who said it's all a part of the government's mandate.
We came into office with a charge that we should immediately begin the process of legislating social dialogue. And so when the Prime Minister initially found out about this particular matter, he got involved right away. He met with all the parties, I think it was yesterday, committed to coming back at 10 o'clock this morning. And after meeting with them collectively and individually, he came up with a position that we were able to formulate a plan to move ahead and have the matter concluded. And so it was really his intervention that brought both parties together and that caused us to be at the position we're in right now.
Shifting gears, with the number of attacks on school campuses, the latest 2 weeks ago at R.M. Bailey, there have been numerous calls for the return of school policing. Well, come September, those officers will be visible at institutions. Education Minister the Honourable Jerome Fitzgerald says workshops on security and safety at schools will be held before the new term begins.
We are working now with the Ministry of National Security on what the policies will be in conjunction with the principals, so that we all have an agreement on that. And probably earlier in August, I'll be able to give a more definitive statement where we can address the country as a whole and state exactly what the position is going to be. I don't want to preempt that right now because we're still trying to finalize the lines of responsibility and so forth. Okay, but we will have a very comprehensive position on that.
The Education Minister also gave an update on the student loan program.
Very shortly, we'll start being in contact with the persons who awarded scholarships to let them know what's going on there. The process, I can tell you, has been made a lot more efficient in the sense that it's not going to take as long to process the funding as it did in the past, because through the financial secretary who has agreed in the Ministry of Finance, we are going to open up an account with the central bank to deal directly with scholarships, and so we don't have to go all through the Treasury and the Ministry again. We'll just give them the list of names. The money will be deposited directly in that account. We will then write our central bank to deliver the checks in pounds, sterling, US dollars, or Canadian dollars, and deliver those directly to the students.
Well, former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram taking issue with remarks by Commissioner of Police Alison Greenslade about the Urban Renewal Project, saying he's now singing a different tune.
To have a Commissioner of Police who now had a new tone, who tells us this story about what a wonderful thing is happening. These are not the stories he told me when I was in office about urban renewal. These are not the same stories. But maybe I was mistaken then. Maybe my eyes are clear now. Most inappropriate. He had all the tools he needed to do the job. All the tools. There was never a request from the police that wasn't honored. In fact, we gave the police more than they asked for. And the police is is fully resourced today. Fully resourced today.
Now, the Progressive Liberal Party crying shame on the former Prime Minister, saying he attacked the Commissioner of Police, who is not in a position to defend himself against political attacks. The statement says Mr. Ingram should know better and much more is expected of him. The statement also notes that the F&M administration took away the independence of the Commissioner. However, the PLP has freed the office, allowing the police chief to determine the priorities and actions of the force. The statement says the PLP will go even further and remove the limitation on the Commissioner's term in office, as indicated during the campaign. On the issue of gambling, the PLP has gone on record saying it would allow the people to decide, and legislation is being drafted to carry out that promise. According to the statement, the Ingram administration conducted studies to determine revenue streams and the tax potential of the sector. It says Mr. Ingram gave number bosses the expectation that legalization was coming. However, he got cold feet in the face of opposition by the church. The statement says Mr. Ingram also promised a referendum on the matter. And still to come, they're learning more about the art of Jonkanu. We'll tell you more in a moment.